Hi, this is Chris, and I am going to try to show you how people can't even roads. People can't even roads. Now here's the most common world for people who are doing the whole roundabouts thing. I think the basic idea is that you need to have a million roundabouts going everywhere because there needs to be the way of getting around. So what you're doing is anytime you go anywhere, you're following all these roundabouts, and there's a path from everywhere to everywhere in the simplest possible steps. And it can look kind of like this. However, this is actually terrible roads. People who are doing this can't even roads. And you might well ask, what should you be seeing if you can roads? And the answer might be something a little like this. The basic idea here is that you have sort of major traffic arteries, and ideally you have them in such a way that you're not getting stoplights. This particular arrangement happens not to have stoplights, but it's worth keeping an eye out for. And then you go into smaller and smaller sections of roads. Now you might want to leave these guys alone. These double two-lane one-way roads, it's kind of inconvenient, and there may be a good way of doing it, but it's nothing more than two double laners going in opposite directions in the same space. It's functionally equivalent to this, except for it's combined. Basically, this is exactly the same as if we had these two roads just kind of continuing. And that's not really what we're about here. The idea is really to go from your high-speed highway down to, say, 6 laners going both ways, or possibly going one way, then down to the 2 laners, and then those can extend offwards into these dirt roads because they're very, very cheap to maintain. Because there's another thing about that as well. If you've got this, all of these road areas are going to cost the same to keep up. They're not necessarily all going to get the same traffic. In fact, it's very unlikely that they will. So there is a lot of wasted capacity there. Whereas something like this, in an abstract kind of way, you got your high-powered highways, and those are expensive, but those are getting the most traffic. Then you've got the smaller roads, and then all the little sort of capillaries here. All these little roads are very cheap to maintain. And you can upgrade them to the 2-lane regular roads, but it's about them being very easy to maintain. And then once you've got that, pretty much what you want to do is find a way of folding it up. And so you wind up with something that looks kind of like this. You've got central arteries. They're leading into an area where there's two-way traffic. Again, with the, this is not really ideal. This is the same thing as both of these roads just running in the same direction. That's not what we want. But the basic idea is going from large to small. What you'd really be doing is perhaps going with these guys and going to the 6 laners, and the 6 laners break down into the 2 laners, and those break down into the dirt roads. And if you want these to jump up in quality, what you can do is start updating these guys as well. This is the basic idea of the circulatory system style city, that you've got your arteries leading to the smaller veins and stuff, and by the time you get down to this area, they're going to be two-way because you're not going to need to control the flow very much, which brings us to a little concept I've been developing. This is the first attempt to lay it out. Here we've got highway on-ramps leading to a basically roundabout, and that goes into 6-lane highways. And the thing to bear in mind about this is that your roundabouts, this is the ugliest roundabout ever, but the roundabouts lead into the 6-laner. All of these offshoots from the central 6-laner go out. And the lanes flanking it are one-way. So this is a two-way. You can move around on this, but it's got room to move around. And then as soon as you start going out, you're compelled to go down one of these, and you have to make your way back into the roundabout in order to get back into the main drag. The flow of these directions is very specific. This goes this way, and then you can always get out to the adjoining road, which goes that way, and then you can always continue to go out to the two-way area, which expands all around this way. You can go whichever way you want there. The specifics of how they work are, I'm still developing them. But the basic idea is that wherever you are in this little circulatory system, in order to make it to the main drag, you've got to make it back over to the roundabout. Now, there's an important point here. With a large roundabout, what might very well happen is that you'll need to feed into the roundabout on the inside. That's definitely a little awkward, but let's not mind that for the moment. Now, this very crude depiction of this, partly because the roundabout is so small, the ones that I've made in practice are much bigger. How this works is you've got your outside highways feeding into the outside of the roundabout. But anybody coming from inside this city is going to have to come around, go up a level, and then be fed into the inside of the roundabout. And they can circulate, but it's filling out more lanes that way. And then they make their way into the center of the town. Now, you're probably wanting to see this in action. Using these techniques lets you push stuff to a real extreme. And here's my example. It's croaking with basic failure because I tried to upgrade everything to high density all at once, and that's a very bad thing. Never do that. But 17,000 in a couple of blocks. The size of this roundabout and the way that it's being managed is scaling up pretty well. I could even fit another city off of this in this direction, most likely. And here's how it works. With lots of loud sirens is how it works. You come into this central roundabout. There's a lot going on here. And you're looking for your off-ramps that are going to be on the outside always. In this case, you're boiling off of here. This place is going to hell in a handbasket really quick, but when you're boiling into the 6-lane central hub, this hub is much smaller. It's not as much of a deal. And we'll switch to the traffic mode because that's always the key thing once you know what you're actually doing, which the other aspects maybe not so much. we can see that in order to get from somewhere to somewhere else in this area, we've got one-ways. In fact, we've got 2 layers of one-ways in this case. And the one-ways go into an on-ramp and then to the center. That way it fills up more lanes of this area, even in an area like this, which is very busy and messy. And this is letting you in on the outside, which is probably why it's getting convoluted. This little area, you can see how there's turbulence. You got stuff clashing here and getting in the way. I've also got an industrial area in the center of this place where they kind of get in and they come out again on the inside. It's in a location that's not too difficult to get to. And you can see that there's a lot of ability to move around. I've got some buses, but the buses are just putting stops in front of everything so that they level up. Things like fire stations need to be placed on the main thoroughfare or somewhere where they can reach one of these on-ramps to the central exchange. Because it's not so much that they need to be there and be able to immediately get to a place here as much as they need to reach the central arteries as fast as possible. Those are the high-speed arteries, and those are the ones that will resist getting clogged. It's not in great shape because there are other things I'm overlooking. Like I said, I tried to change everything over to high-density retail and residential all at once, and that was a very bad mistake that I barely survived, so never do that. But the roads handled it. The roads handled it. And in fact, there's a lot that you can do if you're not satisfied with how well it's working. This particular arrangement of feeding stuff in the inside, I'm doing in 2 places, 3, 4. I'm doing it in 4 places, here, 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 and here, not counting the exit from the central area. But I'm not doing it absolutely everywhere. This road is feeding in here, and this highway on-ramp is feeding into the outside, and I could be running that over the top. In fact, heck, let's give it a try. We're going to just beat up on some of these buildings. Some of them are actually abandoned anyhow. Move this guy over until he joins. Now, and you can see there are 2 different on-ramps leading into this guy. But what we've got traffic-wise has improved itself slightly. Not only that, there are other things that we can do as far as the turbulence. I've mentioned turbulence before, and it's a very important concept. Anytime you have multiple things going to the same place, it can be an issue with turbulence. And here's one of these aren't slowing down, but this area tries to merge here, and then this goes over here. And not all of these guys are trying to get out, and even if they are, we can force them to take the long way around. And now we got this guy going over here. We're going to drop him down. And you're going to merge after the off-ramp. So if somebody wants to go through here, they're literally going to have to go around the entire roundabout. Now let's see how that moves. And we've just moderately improved that. Now here's another thing that we can try. And we'll see whether we can't just make the people coming from here just go through there. And let's just run a little bit and see what direction we want to go. All right, that's good. Look at that. Now, this area looks a little turbulent too. As you can see, this is still sort of dark orange. It's possible it wouldn't stand up to more traffic, so let's try to smooth this out while we're at it. This is getting into the advanced game of optimizing these traffic flows. This is just an off-ramp. I can use ramps for this. They will have to go into one place, but they will also have to accelerate. You guys go there, and that is too steep. So what we're going to do here is have those guys accelerate onto that. Now let's watch how that works. And we've got a little knot of turbulence there. We might do well to have these guys merging in this way or here. Here's an idea. This is not a high traffic area right over here, but it's causing a knot here. So what we're going to do is bash this right out, and we're going to... No, we're not going to upgrade. We don't need to do that. What we're going to do is... And definitely not that. That looks like a nightmarish flow problem. We're going to see how this works. As you can see, we've smoothed this out a little bit. This could conceivably lock up somewhat, but this particular, the on-ramp area is very fast, so they're accelerating into this area. And then this is bound to settle down eventually. It's going to get less red as it goes. Another thing we can do is take the on-ramp from a different location. But this is how you manage traffic at high traffic flows, is you think of it in terms of flow and turbulence, rather than in terms of somebody here trying to get here and making a road that goes straight from there to there. Now, as a final trick, on the assumption that everybody on roads wants to go in every possible direction, what we'll do is update all the roads to two-way. I think that's everything. So, we have now set the city completely free, and all the one-ways have gone away, and now they can go any direction they want. Here's what happens. Now, the roundabout is still doing basically okay, but you already see that they're tying up in a knot here, and that's because they're able to come from here into there. We've got some congestion here, although they're doing pretty well, all things considered. But we're seeing a redistribution of these hotspots, and they're centering around these areas where people are all coming through one place. Now this is laid out in a grid, so this is actually your best case scenario for the two-way traffic and all that kind of stuff. But we're starting to see some of these traffic knots anyhow, and they're located in just where you don't want them to be. The roundabout has declined in usage a great deal. It's got a lot less travel than some of these on-ramps and things are not getting used at all. Now, since this is our high-speed road, that's not necessarily great. This is how you manage traffic at high traffic flows. And with a bit of luck, next time I do this, I can demonstrate it more effectively without making everything completely collapse and become a total disaster. But as far as total disasters go, this is a pretty good one. And as our poor confused city declines, I bid you good night. Ta-ta.